December 7th, 1941, a day that dawned like any other, but would soon be marked by tragedy and heroism, a date forever etched in the annals of American history. The calm of a Sunday morning was shattered by the thunderous roar of enemy aircraft. On this peaceful Sunday morning, the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, became the target of a surprise attack that would propel the nation into the fires of World War II. The serene waters of the harbor turned into a battlefield as bombs and torpedoes rained down from the sky. The attack sent shockwaves across America, shattering any illusions of isolationism and awakening a sleeping giant. President Franklin D. Roosevelt would soon address the nation, declaring this day a date which will live in infamy. The tranquility of the Hawaiian paradise was shattered as a wave of Japanese aircraft, launched from 6 aircraft carriers, descended upon the unsuspecting base. The meticulously planned assault aimed to cripple the Pacific Fleet and secure Japan's dominance in the region. The attack commenced at 7:48 a.m. local time, catching American forces completely off guard. Within minutes, chaos erupted as sailors and soldiers scrambled to defend their positions. The roar of aircraft engines filled the air, followed by the deafening explosions of bombs and torpedoes. Smoke and fire engulfed the ships and buildings, leaving a scene of devastation in their wake. The bravery and sacrifice of those who fought back that day would become a testament to the resilience and spirit of the American people. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a calculated gamble by the Empire of Japan. Its leaders, driven by imperial ambitions, sought to cripple the US Pacific Fleet, removing any obstacle to their expansionist goals in Southeast Asia. They envisioned a swift and decisive blow that would secure their dominance in the region. Japan's military strategists believed that by destroying the American battleships stationed at Pearl Harbor, they could buy valuable time to consolidate their gains. They also hoped to demoralize the United States, forcing them to accept a negotiated peace that would favor Japan's interests. However, their plan was flawed from the start. The Japanese attack unfolded in 2 devastating waves. The first wave, comprising 183 aircraft, targeted the heart of the American fleet, the battleships moored at Battleship Row. Torpedo bombers, dive bombers, and fighters swarmed the harbor, unleashing a torrent of fire and steel upon their unsuspecting prey. As the first wave subsided, a second wave of 171 aircraft followed, widening the scope of the attack. They struck airfields and other military installations, aiming to cripple American air power and further disrupt any potential counterattack. The skies above Pearl Harbor were filled with smoke and the acrid smell of burning fuel. The attack on Pearl Harbor inflicted a heavy toll on the United States. Over 2,400 Americans lost their lives in the attack, including Navy personnel, Army soldiers, Marines, and civilians. Among the fallen were 2,008 sailors and Marines who perished aboard the USS Arizona, which exploded and sank after being struck by an armor-piercing bomb. In addition to the human cost, the material damage was significant. 18 U.S. ships were sunk or severely damaged, including 5 battleships. The USS Arizona, a symbol of American naval might, lay shattered on the harbor floor, a stark reminder of the attack's ferocity. Section 5, a declaration delayed, a nation enraged. Adding insult to injury, the attack on Pearl Harbor occurred before a formal declaration of war. This unprecedented move by Japan not only caught the American military off guard, but also violated the traditional rules of engagement that had been respected by nations for centuries. The surprise attack was meticulously planned to deliver a devastating blow to the US Pacific Fleet, aiming to cripple America's naval power in the Pacific. Japan's leaders had intended to deliver a message to the United States, outlining their grievances and effectively ending peace negotiations, just minutes before the attack. This message was meant to serve as a formal declaration of war, but the timing was disastrously miscalculated. The Japanese diplomats in Washington, D.C. were still in the process of decoding and delivering the message when the first bombs fell on Pearl Harbor. However, due to delays in decoding and transmission, the message arrived after the first bombs had fallen. This delay was not just a minor misstep, it had profound implications. The United States perceived the attack as a treacherous act of aggression, further inflaming public sentiment and solidifying the resolve to respond with full military might. The news of the attack spread like wildfire across the United States, plunging the nation into a state of shock and outrage. Newspapers quickly printed special editions, and radio broadcasts interrupted regular programming to deliver the grim news. Families gathered around their radios, listening in disbelief as the details of the attack unfolded. The American people, who had been deeply divided over the issue of involvement in a foreign war, were now united in their fury and determination to avenge this act of aggression. Enlistment offices saw long lines of young men eager to join the fight, and communities across the nation rallied in support of the war effort. The attack on Pearl Harbor had awakened a sleeping giant, and the United States was now fully committed to entering World War II. Section 6. A Path to War: Rising Tensions. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of years of escalating tensions between the United States and Japan. Japan's imperial ambitions, particularly its expansion into China, had put it on a collision course with the United States. The United States, along with other Western powers, condemned Japan's aggression and imposed economic sanctions in an effort to curb its expansionist policies. However, these measures only served to embolden Japan's militaristic leaders, who saw war as the only path to achieving their goals. Section 7. Japan's strategic blunder. While the attack on Pearl Harbor achieved tactical surprise and inflicted significant damage, it proved to be a strategic blunder of epic proportions for Japan. The Japanese had miscalculated on several fronts. Most critically, they failed to destroy American aircraft carriers, which were at sea during the attack. The survival of the carriers, coupled with the fact that key infrastructure such as oil storage depots and repair facilities had been spared, allowed the United States to recover from the attack far more quickly than Japan had anticipated. Moreover, the attack had the unintended consequence of galvanizing American public opinion in favor of war. Section 8. A date etched in memory. On December 8, 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt addressed a joint session of Congress, his words echoing through the halls of history. In a somber and resolute tone, he declared, "Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy." The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Roosevelt's speech, delivered with his trademark eloquence and determination, captured the mood of the nation. It transformed the attack on Pearl Harbor from a military defeat into a rallying cry, uniting the American people behind the war effort. Section 9. A turning point in history. The attack on Pearl Harbor marked a pivotal turning point in American history and the course of World War II. On the morning of December 7, 1941, the serene skies over Hawaii were shattered by the roar of Japanese aircraft. The surprise assault left the American Pacific Fleet in ruins, with battleships ablaze and thousands of lives lost. It shattered the nation's illusions of isolationism and propelled the United States into a global conflict that would redefine the world order. The American public, once divided on the issue of entering the war, now stood united in their resolve to fight back. The nation's industrial capacity was swiftly mobilized, transforming factories into war production powerhouses. The sleeping giant had been awakened, its industrial might and unwavering resolve unleashed. American soldiers, sailors, and airmen were rapidly trained and deployed, ready to take the fight to the enemy. The nation's economy was redirected towards the war effort, producing everything from tanks to aircraft at an unprecedented rate. The attack also had profound implications for the relationship between the United States and Japan. Prior to the attack, the two nations had enjoyed a complex relationship characterized by both cooperation and tension. However, the events of Pearl Harbor irrevocably altered this dynamic, leading to a fierce and protracted conflict in the Pacific theater. The two nations, once bound by ties of trade and diplomacy, were now locked in a bitter struggle for supremacy in the Pacific. The battles that ensued were some of the most brutal and intense of the entire war, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The resolve of the American forces was matched by the determination of the Japanese, leading to a prolonged and grueling conflict. The scars of Pearl Harbor would linger long after the guns fell silent, shaping the post-war world. The memory of that fateful day served as a somber reminder of the cost of war and the importance of vigilance. The legacy of Pearl Harbor continues to influence US military and foreign policy, ensuring that the lessons learned are never forgotten.